It's remake time. Welcome everyone to the FTCR discussion for Pokemon: the first movie: Mewtwo Strikes Back: Evolution: a Netflix original series. Today, Chris, Stefan, and Smoothies will answer the big existential questions like, why are we here? Can a grown woman shouting Pikachu make you cry? And can you call a movie an original series film if... how did I write this? Can you call a movie an original series film if you had no hand in production but simply bought the distribution rights to an overseas remake? But first, introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Chris. I'm the one mentioned in the intro.
I'm Smoothies.
I'm Stefan Evolution, which is the exact same thing as Stefan, only I'm flatter this time.
You're a lot smoother and shinier now. I've noticed that about you. Is it your diet?
Yeah, it looks pretty good. Let's see. I'm a little thicker down in the bottom region, but I gotta fix that.
Wait, your dick? I'm drunk. Sorry.
Oh, my feet.
I mean, I thought that's what he was talking about. He's like, yeah, down below, I'm a little bit thicker these days. I might need to do something about that. I was like, depends on who you ask. It's how you.
Oh my god.
It's how the ocean waves come in. It's not how big the waves are.
Should we restart this recording?
Nope, we're talking about Pokemon now. Pokemon and penis, our favorite things in FTCR.
Chris, when are we going to create the Not Safe for Work channel in the FTCR Discord?
Never. I don't... Nope. We are not even broaching that topic.
Have you seen Mewtwo in this movie?
So yeah, I love the Netflix original Pokemon movie, which is the original Pokemon movie, except now it's in 3D CG with slightly altered scenes and dialogue and weirdly largely the same background cast,
but also like 20 extra minutes of total runtime, but the same movie. So I guess they just sort of like dragged things out,
but without the extra This is a weird thing. This is a really weird movie. Am I wrong in thinking that this is like a really weird fucking thing?
It's weird because it's like I mean like, say for example like Lion King 2019. It's like that at least you can see why they did it. This is kind of like you don't really know why they decided, like, other than, even if it was the anniversary, but it was like, what made you like decide to just do it? Like, the anniversary isn't really an excuse, not an excuse, but a reason to do this, other than maybe you figured out how to do this technology and you want to test it before you do it on like a proper Pokemon movie.
Yeah.
Wait,
that's literally the only thing I can guess.
What's the company who made this? What good question, Steven. Who is the company who made this?
I'll go to the credits and pan through, I guess.
I'm pretty sure it's still like the same. The animation studio I'm trying to figure out, but I'm pretty sure it's the same like
we don't
Pokemon company. Yeah, that does all the other Pokemon movies.
Right.
I watched the credits, but I didn't watch the credits. You know what I mean? Like, they were there, and I was like, huh, those are paintings under those words.
Okay, everybody who's listening, so take our opinions as a grain of salt.
Okay, I check. It's the same company that does that's done Pokemon since the beginning, just their CGI division.
Basically, whenever I watch a movie, I don't really care who worked on it as long as the movie is good, because there are people who I really, really like in filmmaking, but sometimes those people disappoint me. So I don't care who makes what. So that's why I don't know who made this movie, because I don't care.
I think that's fair.
Because the people who make things that you like, they disappoint you sometimes too, you know?
Yeah, like us, to our viewers. It's funny because it's meta. But yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, I tend to follow and track those who I've already liked before, but also I'm a Sonic fan, so,
Right.
You kind of get used to that concept.
But that is the that's the nature of making any like medium, like collaborative project or whatever. There's gonna be especially when you do it for so many years, there's gonna be stuff that you're not gonna like. But if there is more, like, say, like directors, actors, writers, whatever, if there's a lot of stuff that they've done that I like, even if there's a couple I don't like, I'm still gonna follow them. I'm gonna see what they do. If I enjoy them, I'll just just something like that. Really.
That's why I'm wary of Connected, because the trailer didn't sell me. However, there are names in that of people who I appreciate, so I don't know what to expect.
I guess while we're at a step back,
Not talking about Pokemon.
yeah, on a bigger picture level here, where are we at with the Pokemon series these days? How do you guys feel about Pokemon as a thing? Like, you keep up with it much, or was this kind of like a return to Pokemon for you? Just broadly.
Chris, how old are you?
I am 26 as of last month.
I'm 30. Stefan is what, 22?
I'm 23 as
23.
of 2 days ago.
Right, so we all came in at different points.
Yeah, Pokemon was like, at least for me, I didn't actually get into Pokemon until Gen 4. That's how late I was.
Okay.
Interesting.
I did watch the anime when I was like super young, like a little bit, but I didn't actually get into the series as a whole. Playing the games, collecting the trading cards, religiously watching the anime until Gen 4 came out.
Interesting. Stefan, I played Gen 4 when I was working at Blockbuster at the age 19.
God, what? No.
Yeah. And I rented it for free, and I beat it in a 5-day period.
I was 13 when Diamond and Pearl came out.
Yeah. I played Platinum, though, so...
And this should say kind of my experience with Pokemon is that I kind of follow Pokemon. I kind of like see everything that's going on. I watch stuff like revolving Pokemon, but ever since Gen 5, I've barely played any of the games, and I've only watched like certain parts. I've seen like most of the movies. I see like anime stuff here, and I've seen like, I think of the anime, I've seen mostly, I've seen a decent amount of Sun and Moon, but other than that, it's like I mostly just, everything I get from Pokemon is directly online. I just kind of follow Pokemon. So like I love Pokemon, but it's something where I feel like I want to get into it more, but it's such a big thing that it's like I don't have the time commitment to sink myself into Pokemon.
That's very
Right.
fair. Yeah.
The general public's idea is that Pokemon Company are focusing so much on Gen 1 because of nostalgia and because it sells. But when you watch this movie, like, it is very much geared towards 8-year-olds. Like, the way that it is made is not charming. It's just very cool and flashy. So that's what confuses me the most about this movie, because, like, I grew up with Gen 1, but I watched this and I'm like, sorry, I like the 1990 whatever movie more.
Yeah, I guess that's a really weird thing about this. Is like, one, inherently, like, it's not a good movie. We can all agree, right? It's a good supplement to the anime, or it's a nice little Pokemon thing. It's not like a good
And that goes for
movie.
the original too.
Yeah. Neither one are like, you know,
I would
films,
say
but-
that I think the first movie does kind of get a bit of a hard rap that people are like, it's not that good, but I enjoy it. But I think there is some genuine like good elements and moments and like how it's like filmed and the art
absolutely.
style and the uncut version, the uncut version of Mewtwo's origin story, stitched together with the opening 10 minutes of the movie. That's one of my favorite Pokemon things. Period. Just that 20-minute like short story of Mewtwo's like growth, him like with the kid, and then his birth, and like everything that you see at the beginning of the movie. I absolutely love that. That's like one of my favorite. Like just that. Take that as a short movie. I absolutely love it.
I like it too, but I don't like the structure of putting everything at the front. I think it's good to like disperse that sort of information like throughout a film so that we figure things out as we go.
That's why I say like as a short, like just doing that, because I think that if you were to watch the whole movie, like the whole 70-minute movie, that extra 10 minutes on top does kind of mess with the pacing a bit. But if you took the two 10-minute sections and made them into one standalone story, then I think like it fits, like it flows a lot better like that. That's what I'm referring to.
Yeah, I think you can look back to that and tell like whoever, everyone who was working on that back then, like, it's kind of simple stuff, but they had a story they wanted to tell. There was heart put into it. It had charm, right? Like, there's definitely some care put into that thing. Maybe it didn't make the best air quote movie, but it was enjoyable, right? Like, we can all agree on that.
It was certainly a very cheap, corny,
Yeah.
like very thrown together film, but it was still like very charming because they had limitations, just like Gen 1 on the Game Boy.
So then,
right?
It's weird because we come to this new thing, this Pokemon Mewtwo Strikes Back - all caps evolution, and like On paper, I look at all the changes it made, right? Because there's changes. Because for some reason this movie's being remade. I don't understand. Just put it out the old one again. But whatever.
There are some changes.
There are some changes.
It's dialogue. It's mostly dialogue, but it's like the bare bones of it is pretty much exactly the same.
I'm sorry, Chris. What were you saying?
Oh, it's just like it's dialogue and little things, and like on paper, I look at all these changes, and I'm like, yeah, those are good changes. Like I support the changes, and I'm glad they were made. But then I watch this, and it's just like, I hate watching this and feeling like every scene or every frame, even, I'm just comparing it against the old one, and it was really distracting to me. And it's especially weird because, like, kind of like I mentioned, you know, Ash, Brock, they have different voices. Misty, I think, recently got recast again. But then all these ancillary one-off characters all have, like, the same exact voice. It's, like, literally the same person from the original movie, which doesn't help, because it's like, oh, man, the guy with the Pidgeot sounds just as much of a goofy asshole as he did back in the original. And it just keeps, like...
The girl is Amy?
Yeah, the girl is Amy, and it's just, like, keeps hitting up me across the face. And it's like, you remember the old thing? I'm like, yes, I'm here watching this new thing with the kind of creepy-looking people. Why is this real? Like, it's so... I think there are parts of it that are nice looking, but then parts of it, like the battle scenes, that feel weightless. And I'm kind of just spiraling off into nowhere here at this point, but it's just, like, so weird.
I think it'd be best to talk about the things that we like about this film first.
Yeah, that probably makes sense.
Because, Chris, I'm in the same boat as you. This didn't resonate with me, but there were a lot of good things about this movie.
Yeah, that's what's so weird about it, I think, for me.
Visually, I think it's like that, because I know that a lot of the thing that people have is just like the animation looks weird and such, but I think the only thing that looks weird is the faces of the humans.
No, I disagree.
I feel like, just for me, it's like I feel like they're trying to go for that they take that anime look and make it like translate into the CG models, and a lot of other movies make it work, but this one I think just kind of does it a little off. But the environments, the Pokemon, the actual character animation, I think is really superb, and I think that I think that it makes me wish that there was like this was just an original CGI Pokemon movie, so that they could have like done like more interesting things with this art style.
I think that the lighting in it is incredible, and I think the textures are really, really good. The models are great, but
Rapidash looks a little weird, but other than that,
the fire. I kept looking
look
the fire. Yeah,
weird, but Charizard looked fine.
Yeah.
So I think that the particle system that they used in this film is incredible. I have never seen such an amazing particle system, like the fire, the hyper beam, like all the special effects looked very, very good. The water looked really good, except for when Mewtwo crashes out of his little tube. Then it just looks blobby and weird. But I think like special effects look really good. I think the lighting is incredible. I already said that textures look good. Okay, so the models are good besides the nostrils. Animation is really, really weird. The very first time we see Brock, Ash, and Misty just running around is like they're just running around like fucking like Flash animation stick figures from 2000. They move so fucking weird.
It's weird. Some of it looks kind of fluid, but in other ways it looks really stiff. Like, am I off base? Like, am I feeling?
No, you're not.
Does that make sense to you?
Because like I feel like it goes from character to character. Because if you watch Meowth,
that's
Meowth looks fantastic the way that he moves. Maybe it's just because he's like a noodly character, so it's easily to rig him that way and make him move different dynamic ways. But Pikachu looks really bad when he moves. He looks like he just has a simple running animation, and he's just like moving around like a PS2 character through a scene.
I noticed that at the worst part you can notice that, which is when he's
going up the staircase.
That too, but specifically what stood out to me was when Ash gets stonified or whatever, and it's like that's the emotional scene, and all I can look at is how weird Pikachu looks when he's running.
Right, except Pikachu looks really, really good when he is like trying to electrocute Ash. So,
yes, they got that right,
but,
for sure.
So they got the emotional part of Pikachu right, but it's just when Pikachu's in action, he looks really stiff. In fact, that's just this whole... That's it. The action scenes look really stiff, but when it comes to like simple, more emotional parts, those parts work. We figured it out, guys.
Yeah, I kind of breezed.
I think
Sorry, go ahead.
with the action, I did appreciate the more dynamic camera angle, the camera movements and the camera angles in comparison to the original. Like that was something I
cannot be on the
seeing.
complete opposite spectrum of the pond from you from this.
There's a shock.
I cannot be further. I hate but no, Stefan, you talk first.
No, that was it. Just like the scene where they're like where all the Pokemon and the clones were battling, and they have kind of like a one take of like the camera moving through. I'm like, oh, that's a different and kind of looks kind of nice. I'm like, I appreciate more of like the moving like with the camera and making the environments look a bit more dynamic.
I hate being this guy. I hate being negative Nancy, but it's who I am.
Maybe we need to talk about things you like more. Maybe that's the thing. Because I was like, oh, we don't like this. This will make a good video. But then I'm like, wait, that's really negative. Oh, well.
But we're on the topic of the camera movement. So should I get the camera movement or should I talk about what I like?
Let's go ahead with the camera movements, then go back to what you like because we're already on this.
Yeah. All right. So we're on camera movement. This movie starts with 16 minutes of Mewtwo saying, who am I? Where am I? Why do I exist? 16, like you can get that done in 6 minutes. Take out 10. Oh, look, now we're down to the original TRT of the original film. Anyway, so Mewtwo, when he bursts out of his tube, we do like this 360 movement around him while glass crashes and liquid goes everywhere. And this is something that I notice in a lot of Japanese cinematography is that in a lot of Japanese films, they like to make their camera move as much as possible when it's like you guys realize that less is more, right? Like you can have the camera in one spot, and as long as you compose it correctly, like, I don't know, Wes Anderson, he only moves the camera whenever we are moving to a new spot, but we also follow things that are moving. Like, your camera needs to have motivation. If you just, like, circle around Mewtwo while he bursts out of a thing, like, it's like, you're doing it just to keep the kids interested. I get it. But it just bugs the crap out of me. I don't know. You're doing it dynamically for dynamic's sake. I'm sorry. I'm done.
That might be
people are bored.
One of those cultural things, like how shaky cam became so prevalent here in the States and stuff like that.
But I disagree with shaky cam, too.
Oh, no, I'm not saying, like, it's good or justified. I'm just like, that's probably just one of those things someone did and everyone else picked up on, and it just kind of spiraled out of control sort of thing. I am watching this, and you're right. This is just like, it's not distracting to me, but I can see where you're coming from because it's just like always on the move for this thing.
The camera is always on the move. Like Mewtwo's like on the island after he destroys it, and the camera just like it starts on Mewtwo, and then it goes all the way out to the island. Like you can see the whole island. It's like what? You could have just cut. You could have just cut from one angle to the other, but you just and we're all the way out.
I do appreciate, like, for some of this, especially like for the beginning, I do appreciate the more like the simplistic slower shots of in the original film, just because like it the suspense, like that suspense is used more effectively. Yeah, like you mentioned with the camera like moving, like going crazy and moving around the destroyed lab as Mewtwo is destroying it. It's like the camera is like kind of traveling around, but just cutting back and forth between the scientist and Mewtwo is just like, it makes it feel like more so like it makes Mewtwo feel like more of a force of nature. He just needs to stand there and you just need to see him, and that emphasizes his strength rather than just, oh, look over there, look over there, look over there, look over there.
And one more thing about the tone is that we are rendering all of these not completely realistically. We're sort of doing a balance, which is nice. It's really, really hard to strike a good balance between cartoony and realistic. And I feel like the visuals themselves, like if you pause at any moment, they struck a good balance. But if you are going for a slightly realistic tone in terms of visuals, you need to make your cameraman also seem like a real person. And neither of you guys responded to that, so maybe I didn't resonate. But that's how I feel about that. Oh, okay. No, that's how I feel.
I get it. Because I just didn't really think about that as I was watching.
Because as these characters who looks half realistic, half cartoony, I feel like there needs to be some sort of realism to how the camera would move with these semi-organic visuals. All right, we should talk about other things.
I was just going to say, isn't it maybe a wrapping thought to that topic? But if you do go back to that old movie, maybe due to budget or just directorial decision, there are a lot of still shots in that movie, and I bet that's one of those things where whoever was like planning this and was being like, well, we have to do a remake of the movie, so what can we take advantage of here that we couldn't in the original? And it's like, well, it's 3D,
move the camera as much as fucking possible.
It's 3D, so we can do anything we want with the camera really easily.
Yeah.
Then I bet that was just one of those things where they're like, well, okay, we can push more in the opposite direction and see how it goes to different,
I don't want to
success.
completely praise the original though, because the original does do some camera movements to satisfy the viewer's entertainment in terms of how nothing's happening. Like there's a shot where Mewtwo is just standing there, and it's like, well, you can't just stay on him for 15 seconds while he's standing there. So okay, let's have the camera pan up on him. So that was clearly like a budget thing. This movie, not so much. Like they're not limited by the budget constraint. Well, obviously every film is, but anyway.
I'm just scrolling through this movie while we talk about it, and man, Pidgeot is so chunky. I kind of love it.
He's a pretty chunky bird. Yeah, how does he fly? It. They.
Pure
them.
willpower. Just accomplishes it. So, yeah, I mean, things we liked. Is that...
Let me see. Well, other note. I never had a problem with it because I kind of clearly understood what the movie was trying to go for, even though if the execution was kind of awkward. But I did kind of like that this movie kind of fully emphasized that the whole fighting is wrong is not what the message they're going for, and that they're like very emphasized, like, no, the fighting isn't the problem, it's what they're fighting for, that's the problem.
Right. Yeah, because Pokemon battles, like, you shouldn't be against that because you are the Pokemon series. So
even though the movie itself, it was trying to go for the whole fact that they're not battling in the traditional sense, they're basically fighting to the death.
Right.
And so it's like that, like that's why. But the movie, just the way, especially in the dub, the way the voice, like the way, like the choice of dialogue they did for made it seem like, oh, they're like, oh, all fighting is bad.
Yeah.
But at least in this one, they further emphasize, like, no, like the fighting isn't the problem. It's the fact that, oh, we're all living like that. That's something I noticed that they mention a lot about the whole idea about creation and about like where you're from and about everyone's living beings. Like that was much more emphasized in this movie than it was in the original.
It felt more natural to me too. I got the impression much more that it was like, oh, sparring is fine, that's what we do, but Jesus Christ, don't rip each other's guts out, you dumbasses.
It's just no. My next point I'm not allowed to say because it's a children's movie, but I feel like you could have let Mewtwo reach his his character arc by just telling him, hey, you're being just as bad as the people who made you. So it's like, maybe you shouldn't do these things. But then the movie would be over, and then there'd be no movie.
Although, I know we're still kind of on good points, but the fact that they changed that, but they didn't change the tears.
Tears?
And they removed like the Pokemon tears that bring Ash back to life, and they removed the line earlier in the movie of the woman like referencing the tears. So now it just comes out of nowhere. Where at least in the original at least had some kind of foreshadowing.
It had some.
Now just
The original had setup and payoff. Now it's just sort of like, oh, I guess Pokemon tears can bring people to life now.
Although the original sub of the first movie that didn't have the foreshadowing,
right.
That was added in the dub. So I mean, they removed it again, but it's like, okay.
Well, at least the dub got something right.
Dubs get a lot of malignment, but I feel like generally Pokemon in some areas at least made some smart decisions. Like
I think so
in
too.
Pokemon Forever, the whole thing there is that Ash is hanging out with Professor Oak as a kid, and I feel like the English dub did a lot more to make that clear. And kind of, not like without being like, hey, here's the thing, but they hinted at it more strongly so that you would actually get what's going on.
Yeah, that movie added like a whole like new season, a whole new scene in which like they're like teasing, like they're like kind of foreshadowing that that twist happens.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'm very pro dub with Pokemon, I guess.
And speaking of dub, because this is thing where like it really. if you watch the dub if you're interested, but just the fact that, because again, live action movies and CG movies dubbed just doesn't work because the lip sync is just not going to work. Lip sync is not, like, honestly, I could take the absolute worst voice acting, but if it's lip synced, I can deal with it. But you can have the best voice acting in the world, but if it's not lip synced, it just drives me crazy. Which it isn't a problem completely with the movie, because it's like they did their best they could, but it's like, yeah, it's not completely lip synced, and it's weird.
In terms of lip sync, I think that the actors did a good job. However, I'm not a fan of the acting in this film at all. In terms of the English dub, the first time I watched this, I actually switched it over to Japanese like 10 minutes in, because I'm like, I can't stand this. Like you're saying one thing, but your body's moving on different emphases. It doesn't work.
Definitely felt off
because it's not just the mouth that's moving; it's also the body that's moving to certain words. So you can tell it's being animated to a different language. So I had to switch over and just watch it as a sub.
I will say which is the main reason why I watched the dub, was to hear Dan Green as Mewtwo again, which is like that was something where like I want to hear him like be Mewtwo again because it's been so long. And like, yeah, he did a decent job. Although I still absolutely love Philip Bartlett in the original movie. I think he evokes like such a sense of grandiose.
I agree.
Just with the simplicity of his like his whole "I was not born of Pokemon, I was created," like that whole "I stand alone" speech. I think is like that's so good.
He has a very commanding tone, and without like really pushing his voice to overachieve it. You know what I mean? Like, there's a really commanding presence to it that I love.
The word is called talent.
What is this thing this man has? What is it? I don't know what it is. Yeah, it's like Dan Green. I mean, I think he's a pretty good Mewtwo. Like, he definitely has the menacing thing down, but it's just that thing where I grew up watching so much.
But he breathes so much when he talks.
Oh, there's that. I was just thinking, I watched so much Yu-Gi-Oh growing up that
you don't even notice.
I just hear Yugi and I don't think about it. Yeah.
Dan Green is great and he's fun to listen to, but it's like he's clearly pushing himself to do this voice, while like with Bartlett, it felt very natural. Like he didn't have to push. He just talked in his very monotone voice. Like it fit kind of Mewtwo, especially because Mewtwo kind of was very stilted and just kind of stood there and didn't really move, so that commanding voice fit the commanding poses that Mewtwo had for most of it.
Yeah, good casting there.
Also, I kind of like sorry, go ahead.
For which one, Chris?
I have nothing to say. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna quick say I kind of like, because I didn't watch, because I know Misty and Brock were in Sun and Moon. I think it's the same voices, but I haven't seen like those episodes in English with them. But I did like I thought Brock's voice was pretty decent.
Yeah.
Misty's was kind of a little off.
She was very loud. Like even when she's supposed to be talking quietly, she's loud.
I think this is the third thing this Misty has been in, because I read that this was a new recast of Misty, like very, very
so
recent.
It's not the same one. So it's not the same one in the Sun and Moon, right?
It could.
I thought it was. I thought it was the same one that played her in Sun and Moon.
Wait. Have you guys been watching the anime since before the first season? I stopped at Orange Island.
Since before the first season. What?
Wait, no, since after? Wait, what?
Yeah.
Words
are
hard.
I've been following. I watched pretty much the first 4 gens and then a little bit between 5 and 8.
I dropped off after the original run and movie 4. That's where I stopped.
Yeah, so I have the most experience of the anime.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I'll look at Sun and Moon videos when they're on Twitter and be like, man, that show looks really fun now, but I don't really watch it.
I guess I want to reinstate my role in this conversation as someone who looks at things objectively, but also that's not true, because I'm also comparing this to the original film. Damn it!
You kind of have to though, and that's kind of one of the issues, I guess, with it. Is like,
this movie does not stand alone, Chris. It doesn't,
especially now, because like I was thinking, like for one, watching this, I finally understood what my parents felt watching it with me as a kid, aka
right.
What the fuck. But B, like I kind of mentioned at the start of this that this is such a better as a supplement to the anime series, but kids nowadays, unless their parents grew up with it and they're making them watch the original run, like they know entirely different interpretations of these characters at this point. You know what I mean? Like this, I would love to hear what a kid who's growing up with like Sun and Moon has to say after watching this, because it is so far removed.
to be fair, well, this is why like they put it on Netflix, where the rest of the Pokemon is, and also some
Not
of the
the
movies.
rest of it, only the first
okay, well,
52 episodes.
It's weird.
Not all 80 for some reason.
This movie is for people who either grew up with the original movie or have seen the original movie before. And while like I don't think like this movie isn't made for people who have never watched the original, and like this is just for you've seen it before, now here it is again. Maybe some things are slightly different, they look different. It's
But that's how I feel.
Yeah.
It's like when they re-released Let's Go Eevee, Let's Go Pikachu. It's like, hey, you know Gen 1. It's the worst game out of all the games we've made, but here it is again in HD.
Again, I said the comparison was Lion King 2019 because it's basically just the original Lion King, only now in photorealistic CG with
and 20 minutes longer.
with slight differences. Yeah, and actually no, I think it's like 30 minutes longer.
God.
But yeah, it's like it's like, and again, it seems they're both movies are more so a tech demo for the CGI department, just to see how realistic they can make their environments and their animals. And this movie, it's to see how they can make their CGI Pokemon and stuff like that. Which is like, I wouldn't be surprised if in 2 or 3 years they announce they're doing a full CG Pokemon in this style. That's like with a new story.
I think you're right.
I welcome that though.
Yeah.
I would want that
As a proof of concept. Sorry, I think as a proof of concept, though, just real quick, I think this mostly gets there, though, because, like, aside from the animation being really weird, like, I would totally watch more like this, honestly. As much as I love, the traditional style and what they're doing now, I think this looks really nice.
Absolutely. I think the visuals are incredible. The Charizard fight was fantastic. So good. I think that everything that they can do with this new technique is really, really good. That's my endorsement.
The thing I'd like to see them nail down a bit more, aside from just general animation, did you guys feel like the fights felt really weightless? Because that's what I was really looking forward to this and thinking like, man, they could really do some cool stuff now, but...
Some yes, some no. Venusaur versus Venusaur was really weak.
Yeah.
But Charizard versus Charizard was really good.
Charizard versus Charizard was fun. Yeah.
So I think that, as it usually goes with animation companies, is that you have certain people working with different characters. Sorry, certain animators working with different characters.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's why some outshine others, because Meowth in this movie looks really good, the way that he moves. Sorry. I already said that.
The funniest thing for the thing I choked up laughing was near the end of the fight, the slow-mo like sequence of the Pokemon like beating each other up. It's like it doesn't even look like they're fighting. It looks like they're like hugging, they're like nodding each other's heads. Gyarados looks like they're going in for a kiss with each other.
Yeah. Right.
It's like they don't even look like they're fighting, and that it was hilarious.
Yeah,
they were having the slowest orgy imaginable.
That's when I got really interested in the movie, is when they had the orgy.
Yeah, the original does a lot of things better. Not everything, but it does a lot of things better, like Pikachu running up the staircase, Ash sliding down the slide to go capture Pikachu was
so
way
much
better
cooler.
in the original.
They removed the best line at the beginning of the movie. We wanted to create the world's strongest Pokemon, and we succeeded. And they cut it off, like just like when they cut off "I Stand Alone." It's like they looks like they're about to say it, and then they don't.
And we succeeded. That's kind of important. I don't know, Pikachu slapping Pikachu. I don't know.
Pikachu slapping Pikachu in the original is fun. It's both sad and funny in the original because they're just kind of standing there. While in this one, it's more so just like clone Pikachu just keeps kicking Pikachu down. He's just go, kicking like a football.
I'm a big fan of less is more, and so that's why I like the original more than the new one. Yeah. Chris, you say stuff.
That's a bold takes, movies. I like it.
I don't think it is.
I don't think anybody's made that take before.
I don't think anyone's made that take.
I guess maybe the last thing we should probably verbally...
Wait, last? I have so many more things.
Oh, Mo.
In relation to the topic we just had, is where I was going to say.
Okay.
With the weird, awkward animation in the fights, is like, I was thinking about it though, like, how do you animate a fighting Venusaur that looks natural? Because that's
it's hard.
Yeah, it's a quadped fucking monster with a huge flower on its back that can't really move its head or its legs very far.
But maybe you work with that. Maybe you make
you
it.
push the boundaries of what one would think a Venusaur could do a little bit, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. I don't
No,
know.
no. Here's the thing: is that you make Venusaur look like it moves awkwardly because it would move awkwardly. But trying to make it move dynamically, then you fail. I did it. I solved everything.
Can we get this,
let me make a movie.
can we get this movie's cut of Pokemon?
Did you guys feel like the editing was weird in this film? Like we cut from Giovanni looking out of his helicopter, and all of a sudden he's standing there in the flames. It's like, how'd you get there? Who let you do that? He's just standing there in the flames with Mewtwo.
It didn't really stand out to me, but that's kind of the stuff I don't usually notice until someone's pointed it out. So you might have just ruined this for me a bit, but
He would have had to gone down a stepladder to get to the platform that he was standing on, and there was no stepladder like retracting upward as the plane goes up or anything. So it's like, well, how'd you get there?
I noticed some scenes kind of went by faster than others. Like there were some scenes that felt like they went on a bit too long, and there's some that went by like super fast. Like the whole beginning and intro, I thought like went like super fast.
Do you guys feel like it's weird that we even bring Team Rocket into the... Well, no, now I'm criticizing the original. We bring up Team Rocket in the original, and then we just sort of don't see them except for Jesse and James. It's sort of, I don't know, just weird.
Yeah, but yeah, like you said, that's basically a problem. That's a problem with a lot of Pokemon movies where they just kind of feel like they need to throw in Jesse and James and Meowth there just because they're in literally every episode already.
You know, I bet the original script had... Because Ash was the one who was invited, because Mewtwo watched Ash fight at the beginning. So I bet Ash was the one who was invited, and once Misty and Brock were also there, Nurse Joy, who was entranced, said, "Sorry, you two can't join." And so Misty and Brock go on the adventure that James and Jesse go on. I bet that was the original thing. And then they were like, "No, we got to bring in Team Rocket somehow."
you know, Brock and Misty don't really do anything at the island.
Exactly. They don't do anything.
Well, to be fair, the other three trainers don't do anything either.
No,
Yeah.
but they're supposed to be there because they were invited. So they're just sort of there to provide like the scene that this is where people
That is something that because the original just invited Ash, but in this one they make a point of inviting Ash, Misty, and Brock because they're both gym leaders. That was something I noticed. They're like, okay, so
because they're gym leaders, right? Yeah,
that makes sense. I forget sometimes that in the anime they were gym leaders.
right.
And I don't I can't remember if this was in the original movie, but there's a funny line that I liked in this version where Mewtwo's talking with them, and he's like I spare no ill will for you. Go on, leave. Opens the door. If you can make it through the storm.
I really like that. I thought
that was
nice. I like that.
Weird omission I noticed while we're kind of on these parts. They cut Gary fighting Mewtwo out of this movie.
No, he was there.
He was briefly there. You see him as an OTS over the shoulder.
Yeah, just like in the original movie.
It's really
sure?
quick, Chris. No, it's really quick, Chris.
Yeah, he's fighting the Nidoking. He's not fighting Nidoking and Arcanine, and then it cuts to the back of Gary's head.
They cut away Mewtwo fighting Alakazam, though. So.
Yeah. We can't see CG spoons.
We can't CG spoons. It's hard.
Well, I scrubbed through the footage to confirm. Were you guys kind of waiting for the, when Jesse and James are there and the clones start pouring through and they're looking at the screen? Were you guys hoping they'd still get the Pokemon?
Get it wrong, yes.
Yeah.
I was looking forward to that. Like, oh man, how are they going to handle it? And then they didn't. And I was like, oh.
But they could have handled it if Jesse said the right Pokemon, but James said the wrong one. And so it's sort of like a bridge.
I was kind of hoping for like a lampshade moment like that. Like,
yeah.
It doesn't serve the movie, but
because they say who's that Pokemon the first time, but then they say it like 3 or 4 more times. I'm like, okay, we get it. We got the joke the first time.
Right.
Except when they went, it's Pikachu, and I was like, yeah, okay, that was okay. That's
it's
allowed.
Jigglypuff, but seen from above.
Right. So yeah, this movie's not self-contained because we never explain why Meowth can talk. We don't show all of Ash's Pokemon at the beginning.
They do add a scene of they do add Charizard with them eating just to kind of establish that Charizard's kind of reckless.
I don't remember seeing Charizard while they were eating.
Yeah, that's not in the original, but in this movie, he's eating them at lunch after they fight the pirate guy.
Oh yeah, because he gets upset about
Dragonite. Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay. Good job. I'm happy about
Good job.
that.
None of the comments.
There are all these like weird like it's kind of like again,
No, that's good.
No, I mean like it's again like with Lion King 2019. Anytime there is something like slightly different, you immediately notice it and like, okay, they did something different, even if it's something completely minor and like not even like in any other movie it wouldn't be worth mentioning. But when it's something like this, it's like, oh hey, that's something different.
Like the pirate guy having hair.
And changing the golem and getting rid of the golem.
It's just typically in storytelling you have setup and payoff. So like in the original film, when Jesse and James get capsized from their boat, they are able to get there because of fucking wheezing. But we never established that they even have wheezing. So it's like, oh, I guess you have that Pokemon, which is something that you would only know if you watched the show.
Yeah.
So that means that the movie's not self-contained. So
yeah, that's why again it's not a good movie film, but I'd like to say now the comments have pointed it out. You two are totally right. Gary is totally visible, and I have no idea what the fuck I was thinking.
Right,
like literally when that scene came up, I was like, okay, do they have Gary there? And then I saw Gary. I'm like, okay, they got Gary.
Okay, I am happy to say that this film did some things that the original did not.
Yeah,
really cool. That's cool.
I just wish they did more. I feel like I wish they would have just gone like they would have just gone like just go completely like to change stuff like go just be fine with like going because I mean they should know, especially when they did change some things, that the movie wasn't perfect. So why don't just go all the way and just fix all of the changes?
Agree.
Give Mewtwo more screen time to kind of fully emulate, because it's his journey. He's especially when you get to the end and like they erase everyone's memories again, but it's because it's Mewtwo's story. He's the one who learns the lesson. So maybe add some more scenes of him by himself, like contemplating things, and that'll kind of emphasize that Mewtwo is quote unquote the main character of this movie.
We got a post-credit scene, and I kind of like it because it sets up the
reference Mewtwo Returns. Yeah, it's on it's the same island. I'm like, okay, that's pretty nice.
But I was kind of hoping the post-credit scene would be him having a nice little moment or vignette of like
nope.
just being a Pokemon, being like learning the lesson he said he's going to go learn. But what can you do?
I'm going to go hide in a cave.
Yeah, I'm going to go to South America now. I don't know. I'm going to go to where the guy from Up went with his house.
It's not South America. It's Kanto.
Oh yes, Kanto.
No. That's in Johto.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, Steven. Get it right.
Have you watched Mewtwo, the epic Mewtwo Returns, where Ash suplexes Mewtwo into a lake?
Not lately, but I need to because I forgot that happened.
Also, Mewtwo has Jesus imagery in that film too.
God.
Oh, just like Shadow. Cool.
Yes. Well, I mean, Mewtwo is literally Shadow, though. Like, I love that Sega basically just kind of stole Mewtwo's original origin for Shadow. Mm-hmm. That's like one of my favorite things.
God, you're not even wrong. What the fuck?
Like literally the children, the little girl.
Oh, Stefan, you can't do this to me.
He want the girl is the reason why he's like this, and then he finally becomes good again when he realizes
Stefan,
that the girl.
Can you tell us what you are referencing?
Referencing in the original cut of Mewtwo Strikes Back has Mewtwo's backstory being that they were trying to clone Mew because they're trying to find a cure for the scientist's daughter, who is like
for Pokemon
has
needs.
this she has this I forget, it's magic illness, and so baby Mewtwo is in this weird like subconsciousness with the girl and the three the three clone Pokemon that have the weird tattoos on them. And basically, like he has this bond with her, and then she ends up dying. So he has to see her die, and then he wakes up without the memories, but only has the sorrow of missing that girl, and all he has is just that rage and pain within him, and then that's what leads him to act out.
I'm okay with them cutting that.
Then he goes to the Golden Gate Bridge and is like, I must kill everyone.
Right. I promise you revenge.
Speaking of little things I wish they changed, now that we're here in 2020, 2019 when this came out, I was kind of hoping they'd give all the clone Pokemon those little tattoos to help them stand out.
Mm-hmm.
Then they didn't.
They have markings. Not very prevalent, but there are markings.
Did they? Did I miss that too?
Only Meowth and Pikachu had the extra markings. I didn't see any other markings for the other clones.
No, Charizard had markings. He had like brown spots all over.
No, Charizard, other than the main three, but I mean, he means the other Pokemon.
Yeah, I mean the ones that were unchanged in the original movie and just looked exactly the same. I was kind of hoping this time they'd give them all those little markings.
Right, yeah.
Just to help them
they didn't
stand out more in like the fight scenes and shit, but they didn't.
Yeah. Did you guys find Mewtwo's existentialism boring and very redundant? The fact that he says, "Who am I?" 6 times, and "Where am I?" 4 times, and "Why am I here?" 4 times in the first 16 minutes of the film. So it's like,
but I always kind of like with Shadow.
Get it.
Actually, I always have an issue with this because it's like you are born and can communicate and fully know the language, and apparently have all this knowledge right out of the.
It's different. It's telepathy. It's different, Chris.
But he can still communicate and fully think. It's like
he's connecting his brain to theirs. It doesn't matter, Chris.
But how does he know this? But doesn't know how to.
He doesn't know language. He just creates a connection between the humans and then talks with them through that.
He doesn't speak to them. He just communicates his feelings through wavelengths.
Right.
Of course.
It's telepathy, Chris.
Right.
There was an added piece of dialogue at the beginning that I did really like when he's like, "Mew, is Mew my father, my mother?" And the scientist is like, "Not quite." And he's like, "Then what am I? Am I like made from God?" In the sub he says God, but in the dub it says nature because no religion allowed. But then they're like, "No, only nature and humans can create things." So he's like, "What? I'm made from humans?" And the scientist is just like, "Yeah, fuck you, whatever, yay." And then he's like, "Well, fuck you." Boom.
The original film handled that scene way better.
Yeah, but I did like that little extra thing of like him like asking about, "Oh, then is Mew my parents? Are you my parents?" Like
that was nice.
Yeah, I did like that.
Not as good though.
Yeah, it's the simplicity of the original.
I'm a Gen 1er.
Yeah.
Fucking Gen 1ers at FTCR.
I'm a Gen 1er in terms of movies too.
Pokemon 3 is the best movie though.
I've never seen it.
It is like legitimately like the best well written and the best well made of all of the Pokemon movies.
Oh wow. Okay. I should check it out.
But this movie has better looking grass in it, so who really wins?
Yeah, that one has pretty looking grass in it too.
Do you think it's interesting that this also applies to the original film that Mewtwo is probably our main character because he's the only one who goes through an arc.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, you could say that Jesse and James also go through an arc, but not really.
No, they don't go through an arc.
Their arcs are never permanent, so it doesn't count.
Right.
They go through a bigger arc in 2000. Like 2000's where they actually go through an arc.
But in terms of the show, they stay the same, so it's like, who cares?
Yeah. I think that is interesting, yeah. Like, even like Ash, Brock, and Misty, it's like, well, they kind of are good from the beginning, and they impart this lesson. They don't really go through any actual thing other than, damn, it'd suck if I got turned to stone and then forgot about it.
Oh my god. The voice actor for, what's her name? Ikue Otani or something?
Pikachu.
Yeah.
Yeah, for Pikachu. How is it possible that one lady saying Pikachu in different ways could make me cry? Because when you watch that scene, if you watch it muted, you'll probably be like a little sad. But she sells it. Because you can tell that Pikachu is mortified. And it's like, oh my god.
I'm glad I'm not the only one who teared up a bit at that.
Yeah, no. This movie did that scene a lot better, in my opinion. And it's the most impactful scene, so good job. Clap, clap, clap.
Although I do think the animation of Pikachu crying in the original is still more powerful, just because it's just the way that's drawn is just like so. But yeah, her performance, her performance in this, is more powerful than that original.
Yeah.
Holy crap!
Not helping.
Yeah, no,
Pikachu's head just looks fucking weird in this movie.
Kind of looks plasticky with some fur, but.
This kind of distracted me, but I was listening. I was like, when it's something really small, but like this, when hearing Psyduck's like voice, I'm like, isn't that the Psyduck voice from Detective Pikachu? And I was like, did they end up changing Psyduck's voice at some point? And like I thought that was just an anomaly, but it sounded so similar. I'm like, okay, is that what Psyduck sounds like now? Because that's kind of weird.
It's the new brand guideline, man. The Psyduck voice. Get it right or don't do it.
Hashtag meme.
This is a weird movie.
I feel like it was unnecessary.
That's...
Okay, so I feel like the original was charming, and I feel like this version is cool. Like, this version was neat, but unnecessary. I don't know.
I feel like if there is a fully CGI Pokemon movie that ends up coming out within a few years, then I would feel like, okay, this movie, it's not really super interesting, but it's at least like, it's necessary in the sense that, this is what led us to that movie. But if, say, that doesn't end up happening, then it'd be like, yeah, it's kind of unnecessary besides just the gimmick.
Because we were all suspecting that Let's Go Pikachu was also, like, laying grounds for other things, right?
And it kind of was for... Isn't that, like, a lot of, like, what was in Let's Go Pikachu ended up going into Sword and Shield?
I don't know about that, but...
Sort of.
I'm pretty sure... Sorta.
I think they did say that if Let's Go sold well, which it fucking did, that they might make more Let's Go games, too, so it was kind of like a nostalgia checkpoint. Like, hey, you guys still into this Gen 1 shit? Okay. Can we remake other old shit, too? Oh, cool. Easy money. All right, see ya.
Right. So yeah, my conspiracy to take away from this is that this movie was them dipping their toe in the water.
What if there's no original 3D CG movie, but they just remake Pokemon 2000 again? Or for the first time?
For the first... Wait, what?
What if they just remake the next movie?
The Power of One.
That's the next CG thing. And they're just like, well, let's see how many of these we can just fucking remake before they get tired of it.
Well, that's the whole point of all of their remakes, isn't it? They all sell well, Chris.
I think it's just weird, though, like, remaking
They could stop now and just keep remaking everything forever.
Right. I think remaking a game is one thing, but remaking a movie is a weird thing. You know what I mean? So, like, I think they can get away with that once, but what if they do it for the next movie?
I feel like, well, at least the Power of One, I could see, I mean, like, if they were to go like full bombast, I think there is a lot that you could do with remaking Power of One. But if they're just going to do like this and just kind of do a point by point remake besides changing one or two things, then yeah, it's not really worth it. Like, yeah, because like Power of One is probably the most quote unquote epic of all the Pokemon movies, and it's still kind of limited in certain ways. So if you just go full nuts and just go completely crazy, it's like that would be fun to see. But I don't think they would do that.
I don't know.
Chris, I want you to review this movie as a 10-year-old. I liked Pikachu.
I liked Pikachu.
I liked Charizard. I liked when they fought.
Real. Are Pokemon real yet?
Peter's great. What 10-year-old, like what would be the scenario in which a 10-year-old would watch this movie rather than either the original or any of the anime or something like that?
Because their parents have access to Netflix. Why else?
But there's also so much other Pokemon on there, so they'd probably watch the rest of the Pokemon, then they'd watch this, and either they'd be like, oh, it's like the same thing, or it's like, oh, it's cool because it looks new and it looks like realistic.
Stefan, they'd watch the first 52 episodes out of 80 and then be confused. Netflix, why do you have the first 52 episodes of Indigo? I don't understand why.
The Mewtwo stuff in Indigo doesn't even happen until like the episode 60s.
I know!
So you can't even get that far in the anime, switch over to this, and then switch back.
I don't... Right. Original series, even though made overseas, and it's a remake. Cool.
I'm glad Netflix produced this for its streaming service. Yeah, very, very kind of them.
Right.
They did the same thing for the fucking Dragon Quest movie, where they were just like, yeah, that's a Netflix original. Oh, the Ni no Kuni movie? Yeah, that's an original.
They do that for literally everything. Like they did that for Invader Zim and Rocco. Like, yeah, anything, which, I mean, any studio does that. Like, anytime a studio buys an independent film and they release it, they'll put it under their banner and say, oh, this is our movie now.
Under their banner, but saying it's original that's what Chris and I are hung up on. Is saying the original word. That's what's weird.
Original film.
And
the original word.
And that's where it gets weird to me, too, because I would have thought the trajectory for this movie would be to put it back in theaters. And I don't think it would make, like, a full modern day movie run, stay in there for a few months kind of thing, but have a few showings in a week. I'm amazed this movie did not get that and that nostalgia pool. Like in Japan, they reprinted the Agent Mew card for the theater release of this. And I thought that's totally what they were going to do for us. I'd be like, oh yeah, you remember going to the movie theater and getting your Mew card? You can do it again, but 3D. And then they just unceremoniously were like, oh, it's on Netflix on Pokemon Day. Have fun. It's like,
The Power of Us did pretty decently well in theaters. Well, at least in limited theaters when that came out a few years ago.
That's right, they did that. Was that the? That was like the.
That was the second. I Choose You and The Power of Us both got like limited, like just like a lot of anime movies have like the limited like a couple day release in like certain theaters and whatever. Yeah, I Choose You and Power of Us both did that, and they both did decently well for like their per theater average.
This is outside the scope of our current topic. I thought Power of Us was I Choose You. What the fuck is Power of Us?
Power of Us is the second one. That was like the second one of that kind of reboot universe with like those characters.
Oh, that's on Netflix. Maybe I'll watch that.
A lot of people consider that to be one of the better Pokemon movies.
Interesting.
Right. Okay, well, I gotta pee, so...
Oh, man.
Are we good to put a wrap on this?
Are we good to stop? It's been an hour.
Have we conveyed that we're very conflicted and ultimately thought it was pointless, but kind of enjoyed parts of it?
Very good particle systems, very good lighting and texturing. So visually, great job. When it starts to move, then I start to feel weird.
I mean, yeah. If you're a diehard Pokemon fan and you're a little curious, then you can check it out. Otherwise, but only those two things. Otherwise, then you're not going to really get anything out of it.
If you're those two things, and also option 3 of that, which is you chose to listen to FTC.
I was about to say the same thing.
Like, I guess I should watch it. The Pokemon experts at FTCR endorsed it. I guess I'll watch it now. All three of you.
All right.
Okay. Yeah,
it's just kind of uninteresting. It's like I'm probably gonna like.
It's there.
I probably won't see it again.
Yeah. Same. Well, as they say in Pokemon, Itadakimasu.
Right. That's something they always say in Pokemon.
We dreamed of creating the world's longest Mewtwo Strikes Back evolution review. And we succeeded.
Catch them is my real test. The train them is my call.